Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys another old school album review, continuing the Slayer discography, and today we talk Divine Intervention. Now, this is the band's sixth album released in 1994, and let's go back to around 92 or so, where they had like a little bit of a lineup change. For this album, well, Dave Lombardo had left Slayer. I think it was because of like personal stuff with his, like him having like a kid or something then and stuff, and they sort of like booked dates, and he sort of left. Well, he sort of left like briefly during Rain and Blood, but he came back and then he left again. And so for this album, they got Paul Bostaff playing drums, who was at the time was in the band called Forbidden. Um, and honestly, in my opinion, I think Paul is a really good drummer. Not as good as like Dave though, but Paul is still a killer at the beast, like especially on this album. In my honest opinion, I think this is a pretty good album. I mean, honestly, I think this is the most underrated album in Slayer's discography, period. And it was like around the time in '94 where a lot of like the thrash bands and sort of like going softer, sort of like did a different route at that time, but Slayer still managed to keep what they are as they are known. And this album is, well, relatively pretty short, kind of like Rain and Blood is. But yeah, let's go into this album track by track. Now the album opens up with Killing Fields, and Paul, in my opinion, I think Paul Bostaff have probably wanted to be sort of like accepted by the fans, so he starts the album with sort of like some crazy fills and sort of like fast double bass, and the riff on that song is pretty thrashy, and you can sort of hear sort of like Slayer's trademarks, and the song sort of like gets a little bit slower in like the verse with some sort of like time signature, and Paul does like a really amazing on the song and then it gets faster, and I really love Tom's vocals on this song, and some of the lines will get to you, and it's just a classic Slayer, and it just has some good soloing as usual. Sex, Murder, Art. This song is pretty short, where it starts with like a usual Slayer riff, but with a lot of double bass in there. And this is a classic thrash that works in the verse, and the chorus is nice. Love the lyrics, and a good song, but overall I think it's eh. Fictional Reality. The beginning of the song is pretty good and sort of like great riffing again, and the chorus is really catchy because of sort of like the way that Tom is singing it, and a lead is sort of like featured in the first chorus, then sort of like a big breakdown comes in. I sort of like the love sort of like the lead work beside it. It's sort of like the kind of like that is not like Slayer at the time. Then sort of like an awesome riff ends it all up, and then sort of like the main riff comes back at the end, and then the last chorus and a solo. Ditto Head. Probably the fastest song on here. It's like a minute or so long. It starts really lightning fast riff from Kerry King, and sort of like fast fills from Paul, and just like the main thing of the song is about society at the time, which is pretty interesting. And the song features a classic guitar duel by Kerry and Jeff sort of like does the first one, then Kerry sort of like plays a great tapping solo, and this is one, in my opinion, one of Kerry's best solo, and its song ends like it starts, fast riffing and crazy drumming. And I just really love how Tom just like spits like a million words per second in that song. It's just insane. And then we go into the title track of the album, Divine Intervention, which is the longest song on the album. It starts really slowly for a Slayer song, similar to like something from like South of Heaven. And the riffing is good and pretty evil. Then a clean guitar part is in there. It's really cool to hear sort of like Slayer use clean guitar. And then the song pace is pretty slow, but the band sort of plays it really hard. It's sort of really weird, and a lot of solos are featured on the song. One of the best guitars songs on this album. Circle of Beliefs has insane double bass, and it's a regular way for Slayer to start the song. A nice lead is in there, and the guitars are use some effect for the first time in Slayer's history. A cool riff with some flanger effect, which makes it sound awesome. And around a minute 55, an awesome part comes in. Crazy solos again, and just extreme drumming. SS3, a good song, a cool intro, then sort of like a cool thrasher comes in. Verses are pretty slow, and the slow sort of song speeds up a little bit around 2 minutes in. I love the riff. It's great riffage again, and regular solo madness. Serenity and Murder. In my opinion, one of the best songs on the album. I really love the intro riff. The main riff is just pretty intense. I love sort of like Tom's sort of like voices in the verse, then the regular voices back at the pre-chorus, and then a cool lead again, and then their sort of like verse chorus part, and the song sort of like speeds with sort of like a fast solo and sort of like a main riff, which comes back to close the song. It's a short song but really catchy. 213, another awesome work by Slayer. It starts with a clean guitar intro, then one guitar plays an evil rhythm, then behind sort of the clean guitar. And amazing drumming again. The song is pretty evil, and the riff is just pretty interesting. The verse riff is an awesome piece of thrash. The pre-chorus and the chorus feature some of the best Slayer riffs, and the solo is awesome. And then the album closes with the song Mind Control, a very fast thrash intro. Not the best Slayer song at all, but it's an okay one. The riffing and drumming are pretty nice, but I honestly think the songs get to me as well. And I honestly think Slayer has better closing songs on albums, such as like Seasons in the Abyss, Raining Blood, Spill the Blood. But yeah, overall, Divine Intervention I think is a pretty solid album. In my opinion, one of the most underrated albums in Slayer's discography. And honestly, I think this was the first Slayer album I've heard until I heard like the classic stuff like Rain and Blood, South of Heaven, and all that good stuff. But yeah, if I were to give Divine Intervention a score, I'd probably give this a solid 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's my review of Divine Intervention by Slayer, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this album, and I'll see you all in the next video, and keep it metal.